Okay, 4:30.
Good evening, it's 4:30. We'll start the meeting I think we'll start the meeting right now. So this is a continuance of the hearing that we started 28 days ago regarding property at 640 Chagrin River Road. At that time, the meeting was continued with a motion that indicated that the appellants requested a continuance of 28 days on the following conditions: that in 28 days, they would bring a signed specific agreement with the builder, an executed agreement that shows the build plan, that they would bring revised drawings that will be approved by the Architectural Board of Review and Historic Subcommittee, and that they will bring evidence of financing sufficient that the builder who has signed the agreement will complete exterior work within 60 days following the hearing in 28 days. And on those conditions, a grant of 28-day continuance would be granted and the hearing would be kept open. So this is a continuance of that motion. Mr. Patronite, do you have people here tonight that if we're proceeding that if you've previously been sworn in, that still holds. If you're going to introduce anybody, or we will, that needs to be sworn in, our law director will do that.
We have the same parties. One of the title owners, Mr. Zielkowski, is here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Testimony, I got the two documents requested.
Okay. All right, let me turn it over to the law director.
Yeah, I just want to bring council up to speed. Over the last 28 days, there have been revised plans that have been submitted to Dave. They were submitted fairly recently. I don't know what the delay was other than, and Mr. DeSillo can probably speak to that, other than I understand the architect may not have been in town part of that time. And Dave was unable to set up an historic district subcommittee and ABR meeting until tomorrow night, mostly because of a short time frame to do that, but also because of getting a quorum together. So that is tomorrow night to look at those plans. My understanding, and Mr. Biggert can respond to this, that there aren't any really major changes or unexpected changes in those plans. And then I have had correspondence with Mr. Patronite, and he is prepared to present a letter of credit, which I have reviewed. It looks official to me at a substantial amount of money, and also speak with regard to a contract, and I see the contractors here. Mr. Biggert, do you have anything to say about the plans other than they're going before ABR tomorrow night?
That is correct. It'll be start at 5 with the historic subcommittee, and then immediately after that is a special architectural board.
Is the nature of the changes, Dave, that you've seen, the simple three things we talked about, which was no chimney, slope of the roof?
Correct.
And there was a third?
I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I mean, before the previous, being that the previous project was an addition, you know, the notes were match existing siding.
Right,
Well, now there's nothing to match, so they just changed it to what the new siding is. So.
Okay, so it should be substantially similar to what we've
Yes.
seen.
Yes.
Thank you. So let's assume that that proceeds and the meeting is tomorrow. We shouldn't prejudge what those two committees decide. Time has moved on. It's been over 2 years since this process has started. We may have different views from those committee members. So let's assume that the plans substantially are similar and we get an okay from them. So I guess what we'd like to hear is where you are with your construction contract and where you are with your financing. Mr. Patronite.
Yes.
By the way, we've received no documents. So I'm just wanting to be for the record. Well, handing it to me at 5:35 or 4:35 is not very timely. It's fair, though, for council to have a document at least 24 hours ahead of time to read the document, whether it's a construction document. The blueprints just came on Thursday, by the way, if not Friday. And so for this procedure, you know, information needs to be provided to this board more timely. Mr.
Well,
DeSill,
over that, with apologies, the only things that are not filled in the construction contract, because we're waiting for ARB, is the amount to be determined as far as the contract price and the completion date. But otherwise, it's a valid contract. It is one that Mr. Ainge has used. I reviewed it for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. It looked complete, comprehensive to me. I've not been tasked with reviewing the content from a equity standpoint, but we don't have any reservations about Mr. Angie. His handshake is his bond, as some of you may know on the council.
And we do not have copies of these documents, but it is signed by both parties, the contract and a letter of credit from Huntington Bank. And I will say it's in the amount of $362,000, which Mr. Biggert feels is more than substantial to do the things that Mr. Biggert has said need to be done. And if anybody else wants to look at it, it's.
Mr. DeSill,
Yes,
floor is yours.
I'm here to answer the questions you may have.
Tell us about the contract that you and Mr. Ainge put together.
Our main focus is to complete the exterior as quickly as possible to the village's liking. Beyond that, Mr. Angie is going to continue to finish the interior of the home for us, but right now our concern is the exterior for all the reasons previously stated. The delay on the structural revisions from the architect, he was traveling. He was aware that we were at the meeting prior. He was aware and communicated with us that he would be back after the holiday and that he would make the changes thereafter. So I can't speak to his delay, but he was aware and understood the importance of the changes, and with the help of Mr. Angie, instead of relying on Steve to get brought up to speed, Mr. Angie sent a list of all the requests per his conversations with Dave and his knowledge of what needed to be done. So he was able to expedite that process for us and allow that architect to just flip the changes and move on.
Right, I think your comment at the last hearing that, there would be very few changes allowed Mr. Ainge to go forth and put together his estimates without
Yes.
having to wait for the architect.
So we are under the assumption of a value to complete the exterior of the home, and we are under the assumption of the value to complete the interior of the home, barring any major changes. As Mr. Angie stated in our previous meeting, it's a cost plus estimate. So there's budgets assigned and based on the specifications and the construction documents, and that's what the estimate was built off of. So we do
So
have an understanding
362,000 is the estimated amount to do
for
the
the
outside
completion
work,
of for the completion of the project.
inside and outside?
Yes. The exterior is about half of that, and I'll let Mr. Angie speak to the cost of that, but the assumption, would it be fair to say that half of that cost is for the exterior of the home?
Anyone on council have questions for Mr. DeSillo? at this point?
I've got a couple questions, Steve. Could you tell us, Nick, what the status is of the original loan note that you had when you bought the property? I mean, I imagine the original structure was part of the collateral on that note, and of course it doesn't exist anymore. So where does all that stand on the original loan? Then my second question has to do with things that you've purchased, materials and what have you, and to do the work that's been done. Is that all paid for, or are there outstanding invoices for either materials or labor?
There is one outstanding invoice for material, and as far as the mortgage, it is current, and we've provided statements to the bank showing that the mortgage has been kept, that all the payments that have been made are current and due.
Is the bank aware of the fact that the original structure isn't there anymore?
I'm not sure of that.
Okay, and the one outstanding invoice now, that's probably for the windows. That was the last thing to go in, right?
That is correct.
How much is that?
I believe around $30,000, somewhere north of.
The lien is more than that. The lien is almost $50,000.
Okay, there's a small balance too.
Okay, thank you.
The lien is not, does not match the amount that is due for those windows.
Thank you. What provision is made in the contract in the event that it can't be completed exterior in 60 days?
I haven't reviewed it. I just got it.
Well, maybe you could, Mr. Andrew, maybe somebody else could tell us.
I'll tell you that 60 days isn't realistic. I could probably do it in 90 days, but 60 days, I haven't ordered one piece of material for the project. So currently, some of this material is running 2 to 3 weeks, some 4 weeks. And then I have to plan, to engage all of my people to get moving. I'm going to say that 90 days is realistic, 60 days is not. I don't think I'd be able to do that.
So does the contract say 90 days?
It doesn't say anything until we got approval.
To be determined in the contract that council has pending.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. The other questions are, Mr. Biggert had said finishing, the three things were finishing the outside of the structure itself, putting in a driveway, which probably can't be done until spring. Although, we have some weather that you can pour concrete as long as it's not freezing, I suppose. And then the last part is finish grading and grass for landscaping. So where are those last two items, I suppose, at, or could be at?
To my knowledge, that's not part of my scope. We would have to talk to Mr. DeSolo regarding the landscaping and the driveway. Not that I cannot do it, but it wasn't put in a budget.
Okay.
The concrete work can be completed as long as we've got a stretch of about a week's time above freezing. As you know, concrete can get blanketed to get around those temperature, those hovering temperatures around freezing. But when we have these dips into the teens like we have been, that's not suitable or conducive to the concrete curing process, which takes up to 30 days.
Concrete when there's already been deep frost. It's just not a good idea.
Okay.
To sacrifice.
And I assume landscaping really and seeding wouldn't be done until April.
Realistic.
Question, if I may.
Yes.
If we agree to this arrangement, are you taking your property off the market? Would you?
Yes, immediately upon approval of the construction.
I'm sorry, so you would intend to move in and live there then? Okay, that's different, I thought, than what we heard a month ago.
I think the property went up for sale as a firewall, as a last, as a plan B, in case financing wasn't in order, but this has never been a house to flip. It's always been intended to be owner occupied. That's a safeguard.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. Any other questions of council?
Mr. Angie, if you have final plans approved by the next council meeting, that would be the third Tuesday in January, whatever date that is. Would you be able to finish up the contract then and give a better estimate of when it'll be done?
Yes.
This isn't a question, but I'm trying to figure out what's exactly going on here, in the sense that the requests that we've made, we really haven't had a chance to, review the information. Number one, we don't know what ARB and historical review is gonna do. Two, none of us have read these documents. I would be hesitant to approve anything without that information, and leaving here and, 6 months down the road, somebody's saying, well, what did you do? Did you do your due diligence as a elected representative? I'd have to say no if I approved this today.
If I can comment, Mr. Angie and the owners are here to fill in any details contract as far as it's just being presented. But you can assume that the contract is complete from A to Z, and if there are any questions about what's in the contract, you can ask me or the contractors now.
But how are we gonna do that? We haven't been given the document. How would you expect us to go through in detail? And yet you just said fill in the details. We don't have the
There
document.
are two details left, which I described. My point is, I think the integrity of the contract is being questioned here because you have not seen it. And I'm saying if that's a question at all, I've seen the contract. I said it was comprehensive. There's no stone on, and it's not secured. So there's no problem of presenting a note or a mortgage or a deed. But as far as the content of the contract, it is complete, but it's cookie cutter, but it's a decent one. It's decently drafted.
But
I'm
is it-
kind
is
of
it
with
signed?
Sandra on that. I'd like to see the contract. I'd also like to see the financing document with the bank.
They're both in front of council.
Right, but we haven't had a chance to look at them yet.
Okay, well, the
Counselor.
one from the bank is a two-liner, I believe, or one sentence.
So I'll give you my comments on the contract, and maybe there's something that you want to do here that you haven't done yet. But there's a reference to Exhibit B and Exhibit C. Neither one of those are attached to the contract. I don't know why there's a B and a C without an A. I don't see an A reference, but maybe I haven't gotten through it all the way yet.
One is the plans.
He just took it from them.
Right,
He went ahead.
that's
Cost estimate.
correct. So we got a cost estimate, we got plans. And that was my question to Mr. Angie was, will you be able to fill in those portions after the plans are approved? Hopefully,
Yeah, that would be
meeting tomorrow?
fine. That would be very simple to do.
Right.
It's just I can't do that without having these approved plans.
Understand.
What we've budgeted, if the ARB says, oh no, we need something more specific done, that is not in my cost estimate, we would need to modify.
Understood.
On the 360,000 in the financing, how much, if the estimate proves not to be correct and it comes in more than that, how much contingency is provided in that 360, or would that be over and above the 360?
By village, the exterior needs to be completed. My understanding, the village has no oversight on interior. The estimate to complete the the exterior is in the 148 to 155 range. So that this financing that's put in place, in my opinion, would cover the exterior for me. Now, they want me to move forward with the interior that really doesn't have anything to do with the village, and to my understanding. So they have enough, to answer your question, they have enough money to satisfy the village's needs.
Well, I take your point, but if it takes 360 to finish the outside, the bank might not be happy about having loaned 360 and end up with a house that doesn't have an interior. That's why I want to see the document.
I would have to go over it by double.
Sorry? I'd like to see the contract, the construction contract. I'd like to see the financing document from the bank.
Find financing document, because I don't know what they issue other than here's your check for your whole payment for 362.
Well, if Huntington's lending without a contract, that's news to me. But I'll look at whatever you've got.
I think that's more of a verification of funds that they have.
Correct.
It's not a loan.
It's a letter of
Unconventional,
letter of credit.
nor is it a conventional.
Mhm.
It is a, no,
Yes.
it's not a letter of credit either.
Yeah.
It's
No,
verifying that they have those funds available.
liquid assets,
Well,
the
then
amount of
what's gonna
362,000.
is if this gets approved, it has to be put into a escrow account that both of our names are on, that they release the funds as I meet the milestones for the project. So we can't move forward. If I put the windows in and I ask for a check, I can't move forward without that check. And the bank is the one that's going to be the verifiers, they're gonna be the escrow agent. to distribute those funds.
Mhm.
So that's the way I requested it to be done, as so that I don't have to worry about a check not being there when I'm ready. So, and I think the village is concerned about that happening.
Correct.
So is this just another continuance until January?
I mean, there's three things we can do. We can uphold the
Pending ARB?
ARB, we can reverse the ARB, or we can, Mr. Patrick, what's the third thing we could do?
Perhaps we should,
2020.
perhaps we should have an executive session and talk about it.
Sure.
So you're making a motion to go to executive session?
Second.
I am.
David, second? All those in favor?
That
Aye.
would be for the purpose of deliberations, which don't require an executive session, but you are going to receive my advice, so that does require it, so.
I am.
Okay, we'll be back. Thank you.
Your architect and the representative. I mean, I don't think he needs to be, but he'll need to be if it gets there.
I don't see why you would.
Well, if it's anything architectural, you know, any questions, what I hate to happen is myself not be here and there's a question that can't be answered.
That's what I'm going, such as
Design, but I'm not the author of the drawing. So really, that wouldn't be pertinent in my, you know, I'm just, he's the architect, he's the author of the drawings. So it might be a question if you ask him if the author of the drawing has to be here. This way you don't come here. If you come here and he's not here, then you end up in one of those.
He is, but he's extremely very in work. He said that was what he was concerned about with this process.
You better get a clarification now from them, even though they might not know.
I would ask.
I'll have to ask.
It's just wise.
How can we answer for ARB and how can they answer for ARB?
Something new. Have to replace those sometimes.
Really no modifications to that. Nothing's true. Except. That's the only. I don't think, and again, I'm just speaking in my experience.
I wouldn't imagine.
I wouldn't imagine that they'd say, well, your architect has to be here to change the blueprint right now. You know, they're gonna say, I'd like this added, it's approved, the contingent upon the fireplace being put back in.
My question is, can he well, he's no longer the contract. That's why she could.
You could. So, yeah, so you can, and you can speak on the behalf. They're gonna say, add the fireplace. This happens a lot where the architect isn't present, but in most communities, not yet. Architect always has. You just might, is there gonna be a problem with the architect? I would.
That's what he said.
I would ask that. I mean, it's.
So now, the thing is, there's a lot of standards. You're so tired of delays and motion.
You're good. You can sit.
How do we?
Hi.
I had enough of Carrie. Start early. Come on.
Oh, didn't I tell you? They're the boss, we're the servant. Okay, it just keeps on. Now, so the question is,
How the law director looked at the contract and said it looks sufficient, and he looked at the letter of credits, and they're all, they're questioning.
he only looks at the letter of credit, we're fighting some ghosts here, okay? So we don't know who the are. So what I'm saying is, we're gonna ask if the architect, they may say they don't know, but they recommend we be there. Why the hell can't?
They're buried in work the same reason he's
In court? Very.
I can't speak. I can't speak to that right now. I can't.
Just giving you the.
So then what do we do?
You should be there.
Yeah.
And then.
You just come here, so you ask me.
Does the architect? No. I'm looking at this from a court standpoint, okay? I know what's going on. I want to go off my feet. The train of thought there with the architect. You said something that. Does the architect approve the plan?
No, the architect already, he already did. He already made it.
So does
His
he have to,
stamp.
does he have to approve it?
His stamp is on that. As long as his stamp is on there, he's. He already made it. He made
What
it.
if they make new changes tomorrow? They want
Then
something green.
you're gonna have to give it.
Does he have to stamp it? Would he stamp it tomorrow?
No, that will never happen.
Why not?
That doesn't, he would go back to his drafting.
Okay, they already said they didn't have to revise it, but
Which we've done when we did the roof, they've approved on the fly and said, as like, as from. And the architect wasn't, we went to, but we went to he wasn't at historic and architect. We went a few times.
Okay, so if the owner approved the plan, the architect is done.
The architect has already signed off on it. I think you're misunderstanding the process.
I'm really not.
The architect has already stamped them.
He's not signed off on the as-built. Correct?
To this point, yes, he is.
I'm not as the as-built.
Yes.
Everything hasn't been built yet, and you don't find it.
It's built as it's drawn.
Yeah.
There's no drawn. The one exception. With the one exception, the flat roof is no longer going to be there.
Right.
The fireplace was removed.
Facade, everything.
He changed those notes.
They're all on
The dimensions.
So this is exactly what was provided. These are the more like the
Here, in front of ARB, because your architect wasn't there, and screw you, and that's it. That's my fear. Not logic, not.
I don't think Dave's gonna, you know what, talk to Dave.
He's there.
Happy holiday, Chico. Here, happy holiday. How are you? Like that happened in there, but again, it's not that they have not seen.
I think it says they know enough, the architect really doesn't have to.
They're anticipating, you know, but. They could, of course, they could.
But then that's already drawn.
Yeah. I know, and I meant to actually call you today to talk, so we're covered there. You're covered financially.
Now, if they ask, they will, they're gonna ask you. The answer is yes, because you got to complete it.
It's a joint. Escrow, so yeah. It's both, like you said, it's lower business. So I'd have to have some kind of information.
We want to see the banks back, which wasn't originally, but some proof of financial availability is that. The other thing is, then a whole.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
The more they throw in new things. So this gets approved tomorrow. I'm gonna minor adjustment. No, that we can go ahead and start. We're almost there. No.
Yeah, he understands completely, and I think he's fine without everything. I know that there's a lot of. They won't talk. Not at all. You can buy a blueprint online, walk around the whole place, but it's not one of those places.
Maybe they would be for the first time. Probably 3 or 4 times this is on there. It's all fine.
That's the right now. But the historical society, how are they going to address this now that it's not a historical structure? It was intended to be brought right back. Historical, right? But how do you? In that regard, he wanted me to be. Did I read it wrong, or did it say 5 o'clock? It said ARB to follow at 5 o'clock. Is that how I, the following day?
Yeah.
I didn't read.
So it is a brand new building. It's not a historical building anymore, but it's a historical district.
No. Those details are already made. We modified the prints, even the original print. It said match existing cedar, but that's not realistic. People do it.
If you're willing, specialty.
See how they adjust. I can't believe it. I can't believe there's so many. Wow. One month is the bigger. I'm not surprised. I've seen Wayhill told the people what color they were painting their house. They couldn't pick it. They said, we don't want that one, we don't want that one, we want the one in the middle. Finally, after 3 meetings, she said, I guess I'm having the one in the middle. I go, how can that be possible? Everyone's the only one. Guy wanted a double door. We don't do double doors. He says, I'll drive down every street and take pictures of it. No, we won't allow you to do it. A double door. And I'm, how did you see?
I'm surprised that I know originally you wanted a big concrete driveway, but all here they let have gravel driveway.
That's a very good point. Oh, you noticed that, huh? I didn't. Yeah. So why are they making you? Was concrete there? Oh, it's asphalt. So where's asphalt and then the back is gravel? It's not a trench.
Literally fire went over.
That's a very good point. I mean, I don't want to pick a fight with them now. I have to look at everybody else on that. That's a question.
Is that historic? No, they never.
Take to the current asphalt. That's better. They don't have that.
It's fun. Well,
No, that one.
Up to that.
that's not.
It's close to the road. Big an actually car lane, probably.
I do.
See what the nothing that happens to them, they may say.
What time?
They can't control what you do on the. There, pick the window. No.
Yeah.
I think I might have gotten that from the original set. It's a very good point. Yeah. There's something, I think, the other side, the old driveway. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, what's in the old set is the old set that kind of expired, so anything is really. Addressing the reasonable proportions of the ARB. Or even asphalt, I mean, worst case. Yeah, no. Got 6 foot by 4 foot. So people are getting around it by 2 or 4 next to. Right. Right. Yep.
That's interesting too. They can't ban that part of that wheelchair also, they can't ban it for sale.
If it didn't have one, and it's not on the print. He says it's a valid point to bring. You know, he said the exact same thing.
That's why I brought it up, because I was like. Do you want to take that right now, though?
I don't think, I mean, I don't think. Like, lots. I'm there. Oh, you want to put the roof on and we end up telling you we're gonna figure out, oh, that's your roof. I still think you just drive the place in. Then you're just throwing money at it and then they're gonna make you knock it down. Make a variance here to try this thing. Here's the thing, you want to throw money at this thing and then they say, you gotta knock it down. They won't knock it down. They can't.
Yeah, the other thing, the whole thing. But in the spirit, I mean, that's the whole. Yeah. It's like, hey, we're holding it.
I don't understand the resistance though. Do you? I mean, what are they gonna pick apart? Contract, pick apart the letter that says.
This is our.
Well, you know, you could, you're a big man. It's the risk you take when you do things in public. It's how do you move forward here? You know, that's my thinking. Like, how do you move forward? If they see us hammer on that thing, in my mind, right? It'll satisfy. Yeah, you're not doing your job. It's understandable. I was on Continuance last week and that lady right there was around. She was there, and here my buddy is on the city council of Mayfield Village, and he goes, "Go talk to her." I'm sitting right here. I said, "I'm sitting right here." I told my wife, "I'm not walking over there. No way." The week after, I had open and
Or a shot.
What are the things that
all got the job. There ain't no way you could pay me enough money to do that. These people got nothing to do. Being a board council at HOA. I was at
Oh, okay.
I walked out there going, how does this even happen? There was a railing that comes out of the back of the porch and goes in, like, they didn't want it. Like, well, I do this for a living, I'm detail oriented. It means nothing. Why would you even comment on it?
very much set back and we anyway.
We are by far the worst. So we did one in Wade Hill. I started with an architect. The architect quit. And he goes, Mark, you gotta wait. I go, I could get you an architect. He goes, no, come on, Mark, I know you draw. You gotta do it. I go, John, I can't do it. I'm not in, no way, not there. I draw all over the place, but I don't draw in Wade Hill here.
Whether you want to know your.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Architect, I'm not. Right. So anyways, long story short, he ground me up like a coffee bean. I finally felt bad. I go, all right, I'll do it. I go, but no promises. He goes, that's okay. I went in there, the first meeting, I felt like in the cartoons when they shoot the guy all up and water is squirting out everywhere. That's what I felt like. I was so insulted. I was terribly insulted. All I was drawing was not what, I don't draw. I want to know what you want. Give me some inspiration. Anyway. I had to redraw it. I had to resubmit. I went back and it passed. Now there's people that go through, I've heard somebody going through there 6 times to go through Wade Hill before they were approved. The second round, I changed things that I knew had to be changed, and I did. And the homeowner was somewhat frustrated that he didn't get, I want that. You pick your battles, John. And his name's John. I go, you pick your battles. You want that? Then you're gonna go to battle with them. So I get there and I represent it and they go, you know, this is like a month later. They look at it and they're like, much better. You know what, though? You put a dormer on the garage side as well. And I turned and looked at John. Do you want a dormer there? If it's gonna pass, I'll take it. We put a dormer. That was it.
Well, you probably listened to all the functional design that they gave you when you actually did it, where a lot of the architects fight, like, you're gonna tell me that, I'm gonna tweak it a little bit, but I'm not gonna do exactly what you.
Architects, they look at me and go, you know, because I really, in their minds, I
But you
should
probably, from a functional perspective, answered all the questions,
Yeah.
exactly what they needed, where the other architects are going, oh, I know this is what I want.
I would. I have an architect that's very big in Westwork Architects, and when I see him go through, it's like, this guy's. What do you do?
They'll have an air of arrogance, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
When you're shooting those questions and trying to get.
I guess it's just frustrating for me because I see no basis for any of what they're doing. I just don't see the basis. Really. I'm trying to understand, like, what are they going to find in those 2 documents that they're not allowing when they ask for those? Oh, I know.
We didn't have time to look at the contract.
I mean, my attorney that drew that thing is
How long have you been
Pretty-
using that, how long have you
pretty
been
good
using that contract?
yeah, a long time, you know, and you know, sometimes you get like I did Denny Weisenberg, I don't shake her out of lease. We did his architect did like 1 sentence. I mean, his lawyer did like 1 sentence and he changed. He goes, can I change it? I go, this is gonna make the contract work. Change it, Denny, I don't care. Earlier, he told his,
Where's his place?
go and change it. Shake her out of lease.
Yeah.
He's in, when you get off of Emory at Richmond Avenue,
Yeah.
you make a left, like you're going to Gino's Jewelry. Emory, you make a left and then another hard left and he's all the way back in the cul-de-sac. He just passed. His kid took it over.
I think my buddy, he does work for him.
Yeah, great.
But I don't know if he did his.
I built this one. But I just don't see the way whatever. Because what could we talk about this? So the next step. I don't want to throw this. I don't want to be this guy to throw this out. He just started finishing on this. what are they gonna, like, what are they gonna do? They send Ron over there and say, you get, hey, whoa, whoa. What could they? What can they do? Right. What else is there? If this goes any further. Yeah. Right. They can live in one house and it goes up to food. It's just a circle jerk.
So, yeah, if it's played out.
How could they? Yeah. Oh. Yeah. They're not here anymore, but you think about these guys go, and all of a sudden they retire. They got nothing else to do, you know, and then they sit down, run. What the hell are you, do you know the guy that owns Ken's Auto Service?
I know, look, we just had a car done on the way to the meeting where, on the way to the ERB meeting where they came to come down. So we bought up there. My dad used to live across the street from, or across from the shop.
But he's on that council, Plainfield Village. He'll be out. He'll get a phone call. Let's say he goes, well, it's the mayor because this lady was complaining about the garbage wasn't like. Don't you have anything better to do?
A little chilly. A little chilly out here.
What a waste of time. Yeah.
Zero's
No.
Just gonna stop it.
She wants to pull it down.
Okay, council's had a chance to discuss the matter, and we'll turn this over to Mr. Broom.
All right, I am gonna move that we continue this hearing until Monday. That would be Monday, December 23rd. Time to be determined,
4 o'clock.
4
4
o'clock.
o'clock. And on the condition that by 5 PM Friday, a signed, complete contract with exhibits, with an escrow agreement, with an updated letter from the bank, with ARB approval, be submitted by 5 PM on Friday. And so that's the signed agreement with exhibits, with an updated letter from the bank, and an escrow agreement in place to satisfy Mr. Angie. Mr. Angie is shaking his head.
Thinking that we need the revised cost estimate by Friday, this Friday? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's right.
Yes.
That's correct.
Is that, can we do that, Mark?
I could do that if that print as drawn is approved by ARB. If it's not, I can't do that.
Understood.
No, that's understood. I think the approval of the ARB
I'll
is.
certainly give you that if it is approved as drawn.
Okay.
A question, if I may. Does the contract have to include landscaping and driveway?
That needs to be taken care of too, whether it's
Yes.
in this contract or some other way.
It could be a separate contract,
Same time.
but it has to be in by Friday.
May I ask that question? I just asked Dave and he said to ask. Would you take the? I'm sorry. Is the driveway in the blueprint? Because all the other driveways in the area, to my understanding,
I
are
don't think
gravel.
It is actually, no, I don't think it is.
They're not all gravel.
So is that a requirement for the DeSolos? It's to have to satisfy the village. I'm sure they want a concrete driveway or a driveway of some type, but everything else is gravel in the area. Why would they be forced to do a concrete driveway is my question.
But that could be certainly something the architectural board and the historic board can address.
Okay.
Well, that's
Okay.
really the body.
It was just a question. It was brought to my attention. It was a really good question. That shouldn't be a hang up is what I'm getting at, The landscaping, if the village is requiring it be in, I could make that happen. It's.
Yeah, we're talking about grading, final grade and grass seed.
Grass seed. Grass doesn't really grow good this time of year.
Not this time of year, no.
We have to put some type of contingency in.
Well, if this happens, there will be other deadlines that will come about. And if it doesn't happen on Monday, that this is all in, we'll go forward with an evidentiary hearing and the council can then approve the appeal, deny the appeal, or move forward with conditions on an approval.
Just one comment, it seems like a perfunctory effort, go back and have that letter from the bank updated and make a decision today, and you're asking for it to be represented on Friday?
Well, my opinion, it's adequate. It says the money is there and available for this.
Waive that resubmission of the exact same letter Friday.
Now, we wanted the escrow set up by Friday.
The escrow set up?
It is not.
Is it possible to set that up by Friday? I know, you're dependent upon the bank to do it.
Yeah.
That is, we require, all the written correspondence, just prove availability of funds. This is a new document.
Actually, I raised the escrow agreement at the last hearing 28 days ago.
Right, but I think the key is just that we know as of the time we're making a decision that the money is available. So if the bank can update
And
that
we have a
they-
signed contract with the contractor with that in
provision
here, which,
for an escrow. Mhm.
We'll have the signed contract, and we're requesting those, at least the contract back.
well, yeah, I'll give you both back, but we'd like to make a copy of
Or
this.
escrow or segregation of funds, either one, but you probably want it governed by an escrow agreement eventually. No, I think we need an update. I mean, I think we need.
It'd be nice to have the escrow agreement with the money in escrow. Let's be clear here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay? Get the agreement signed on Friday, put the money in there on Monday, be back at 5 o'clock. You really want to see that the money that you say exists is in an escrow agreement and an escrow account at some financial institution. So if the escrow agreement is created by Friday and that the money is deposited by noon on Monday, so that when you're here at 4 o'clock on Monday, the funds are available.
Wait,
Because you said you want to start immediately, that would, and Mr. Ainge is not going to start until he's got adequacy of the funds.
It's my confusion. I thought you wanted to see the inner workings of the bank, the actual terms of the escrow agreement. What you're asking for is the proof of availability of funds. Is
We're
that?
asking for proof of availability of funds in the escrow agreement signed by Mr. DeCello, Ms.
We
DeCello.
want the funds sequestered in an escrow agreement, so we know that they're there, and they don't go to pay for the window invoice for
but
some other purpose.
here's where my confusion remains. There's an escrow agreement just to put the money into the escrow. And who the payees are and who the drawers are. But
Terms.
the terms of the escrow agreement, when Mr. Angie gets his money after this is presented, that's presented, do you need the entire dispersal agreement as part of the escrow? Okay, that's my confusion. And I believe Mr. DeSillo says can't get that contract
Probably not by Friday.
by Friday.
I kind of understand that since I know quite a bit about banking, but
Just to be clear, this pertains to only the exterior of the home. When we draw up the contract and the terms of our agreement with Mr. Angie to present to the village, it is only the extent of the exterior of the home. You're not concerned with
correct.
the minutia of
Sounds,
the interior.
yes, it sounds like landscaping and exterior. I don't know.
We'll add
about-
that to the scope, but as far
I
as.
don't know about the
interior-
driveway.
Question before, how fast can you get the information, suitable form that shows there's a three-way agreement between the bank, the funds are there, and that there's a mechanism for the dispersal of funds on draws?
That I don't know. We can go to Huntington tomorrow and ask. I don't have the answer to that.
Huntington hasn't discussed it. You've just deposited money? With money on
There's money available. The banker answered that.
Available how?
Liquid assets. It's available.
Liquid assets
on-
within
We got the letter of credit, yeah.
So, gentlemen, I think what we want is we want to see that if all this is done by Monday, everything's all done by Monday, then Mr. Angie says, you know, I'm not doing anything over Christmas, I'm gonna get started, that he'll be comfortable to get started. Am I summarizing that, everybody, that we want?
That's
Right,
correct.
he can order his supplies, line up his
Right,
people.
you can start
Right.
ordering, you can get on the phone and start ordering and saying, let's,
Yeah,
Case of you.
and we want the funds sequestered so they can't be used for any other purpose than to finish this contract.
Escrow, right.
Like we talked.
It says in the commitment letter that was only pertaining to the subject property.
Well, they want to see the documents that state the money is there and it's only going to be used for that purpose.
Correct. Now, the question we have is, how fast can we get Huntington, which is not the most reliable bank, as I sit here with my blood boils, how fast can we get something from Huntington?
You're welcome to get another bank if you like.
My lender
I have been Huntington.
may take the deposit and distribute it through private banking. And then I could get them the letter. As long as, you know, the money's in that account, they'll do but there's a fee involved. So I would call Huntington.
We'll have an answer in the morning.
Okay, what I'm hearing is a Monday deadline, but can we just proceed in all due diligence, relentless good faith, that we're trying to get what you need, and which is perfectly in order, your request, council's request. We don't know if we can get the paper generated by Friday or Monday. So all I'm saying is we need a little slop time. We know what you need, and we can hammer the bank to get something out. I just don't want a hard fixed time, because then we're debating an issue of good faith again.
If you need
They
the
don't
slop
think-
time, then you come back on Monday at 5 o'clock and ask for the slop time.
Okay.
We're sticking with Monday at
It's
4.
coming Monday?
Monday at 4.
Okay. Next council meeting, next month?
No, special meeting.
special meeting just for you guys.
Okay, let's go back to Mr. Groom.
All right, so.
Are you complete with your motion? Can you read it again?
Do I need to restate that, Todd?
Yes.
Unless Janet can read it. Janet, do you have it?
Uh,
No, then you have to do it, Scott.
So I move that we continue this hearing until Monday, December 23rd, 4 PM, on the condition that the appellants present a complete signed construction contract with exhibits, numbers, and that they present evidence that the money that they have available has been placed into escrow or otherwise committed to the construction project satisfactory to Mr. Angie to be able to begin ordering and or work immediately.
Satisfactory to Mr. Angie or the council?
To council and to Mr. Angie that he can begin work.
Have a second. And then we'll have a conversation.
Landscaping?
How about grading?
And would also provide for grading and grass.
And the ARB approval.
It's implicit, but along with ARB approval, without ARB approval, I think we've heard testimony, you can't come up with a contract, so ARB approval, contract, complete with exhibits, signed, dated, and an escrow agreement in place that commits the money to the building sufficient for the builder to begin building.
Second.
Any conversation or discussion? There's been a second and a motion. Roll call, please, clerk.
Eton,
Yes.
Broom,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Press,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Walsh.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. We'll continue this hearing on Monday at 4 p.m. Thank you all for attending. We'll begin the council meeting in 5 minutes.